Hello, friends. Welcome to this episode of the Expansive CEO Podcast. Um, I'm Hannah. Lauren's here.
Hi, friends.
And we left off last time talking about how to not abandon yourself, how to process heavy times, and how without abandoning yourself in that process. Um, and today we want to talk more about like living in the real world, human design and gene keys, and healing your money stories, and elevating your leadership, all of those things. Like, we talk a lot about all of that, and especially with like the human design and the gene keys pieces, it can be really easy to hone in on, like, I have to do this perfectly, right? Like, oh well, this is I'm a manifester, so I'm here to inform and initiate, and then peace out and let other people pick it up, let the generators pick it up. Or I'm a projector and I'm here just to guide and to share my wisdom, and then again, peace out. um that's beautiful, and yet, like, the correct use of the energy, we talk a lot about that there is a correct way that your energy is meant to flow. And the assumption, like the underlying or overlaying maybe assumption, is that we are here to work together in groups, and that our energy literally is here to connect with others. And so in a perfect world, the manifestors can initiate, they can inform, then initiate. It can be picked up by generators and manifesting generators who are like, ooh, that sparked my sacral energy. I'm a yes to that energy. I can do that. And it'll spark the projectors to be like, hey, generators, you're being a little crazy. Here's how you can use your energy better. I see you're acting, you're doing a lot of stuff, but you're doing too much.
Just
Y'all
bring
are
it
doing
in. Just bring
you're
it
doing
in.
too much. Right. So the projectors are going to tell the generators how to use their energy more effectively, and the reflectors are going to be the ones just sampling the environment and coming around and helping people reflect back their what they've learned, what they see.
And also
And
be the ones like, y'all being a little crazy.
right,
We all need
yes,
to
and
get this together.
right, they get a sample of everyone's energy and be like, hey, this is how you lead better, manifestor. This is how you guide better, projector. This is how you use your energy better, generator. So if we were in a petri dish or a living experiment of perfectness, maybe that would be possible.
Mhm, mhm.
But we live in a society with a lot of people who are completely and utterly unaware of how their energy is affecting other people. And we still have to build businesses. We still have to make money. We still have to pay our bills. We still have to support our families. We still have to figure out how to enjoy life and get things done.
Huh? All in the context of a not self world.
Yes.
Because in the majority of people are not self. And that's not a judgment statement by any means, right? I mean, that's just the world we live in, to your point, that majority are unaware. And that's okay. The awareness, again, who knows who's going to come after me for saying this, but awareness isn't for everybody. And
Mm,
this is getting into, technical jargon, shall we say, but the fractal lines is that, there are certain, think of fractal lines, listener, as like connection points and in the lines that we all kind of live on in the direction that we're moving. And the closer to your fractal line you are to the people you're surrounded by, one, the more correct you'll find the correct fractal lines by being correct and being aware and living through your own energy. But recognize you're going to run into people who are not. And that's okay. And that's what this episode is really all about, is how do you continue not to abandon yourself, but also recognize you live in the real world. You live among people who are not aware. So rather than lose yourself in that space, how do you come to grips with it's not always going to be perfect? The people that you're surrounded by may not necessarily be as aware or have the desire to be as aware as you. And so rather than get disappointed, frustrated, angry, or bitter because of that, how do you stay as true to yourself as you can, recognizing that you're not always going to get it right either? that awareness is an ever evolving process in your life. And even till the day you die, you're never going to be 100% aware.
Right. Yeah, I like to liken that to the gene keys process of in every single one of the 64 hexagrams, we have a shadow, a gift, and a siddhi, siddhi. And if you're familiar with the yogic traditions, a city is like perfection, is the highest expression. Gene keys, it's like transcendence, it's enlightenment. You're basically not a human anymore because we can't live in perfection. We can't live in omniscience. We can't live in pure compassion all the time. Those are city expressions. But the little metaphor that I think works super well for this is that it's like being on a road or that the city is the horizon line, let's say, even being on a ship. Either way, your city is your horizon line.
Or in
As
some
you
form of transportation.
you're going somewhere. And when you notice yourself experiencing the shadow. So let's talk judgment. Let's talk gate 18 or hexagram 18. Judgment is the shadow. Integrity is the gift. Perfection is the city, right? We're not going to live in perfection all the time. But when you notice the shadow of judgment coming up, you take steps to move into integrity, the gift of integrity. And as you do that over and over again, you're taking your steps, you're walking in the gift. You're noticing the shadow, you're going to walk in the gift of integrity as much as you can. You are pointing towards perfection. Eventually, you might get to the city.
Here and there,
It's like
right?
CITY, right? Like it's my
Right.
little pun. I love my little pun.
Yes.
You're walking on that road, but it's literally a practice of noticing the judgment, flagging it, saying, "Oh, judgment is present." I notice either I myself am creating hierarchies of this is better than they're better than me or I'm better than them. And when I or someone else is doing it as well, they're judging. You're like, "Oh, I notice you're judging pretty hard." You notice the shadow of judgment is present and you choose to walk in the gift of integrity. Integrity meaning you still see the judgment is there inside of integrity because judgment tells you, "Hey, this thing is out of integrity." So the gift instead says, "This is how we take this thing and put it back into integrity." And that's walking in the gift, right? But it's again, you're not going to be perfect in that. It's going to be a an ongoing process, and sometimes you're going to get it wrong, and sometimes you're going to notice people being super judgy, and you're not going to be able to reach them or redirect them, or you're not here to change other people, and you just have to notice that and be like, "Oh, well, I felt the flame of judgment off of that person pretty hard, and I'm good." I'm gonna move along. Um, but yeah, what are you picking up from that?
Yeah, so it's really funny. So I'll take the human design side of that, and they're so related. Um, and because this is a huge part of my energy is gate 18. Um, I look at it in terms of frequencies, right? Of looking at both sides from on the gene key side, it being the shadow to the city, and then on the human design side being the detriment to the exaltation, right? It's kind of the
Mhm.
same concept, so to speak, in the frequencies. And I look at it as somebody who has this gate and has the entire channel of judgment in a number of different ways. Um, it can Okay, so let me take a step back. So this is all rooted in logical energy on the human design side, and logical energy is all about perfection. It is this part of the mechanic is this perfection because it's rooted in future orientation. It's a collective channel, so it's all about it's social in terms of the collective being all of society, and the perfection is not about each individual. That's not how the energy is intended to be. It's more about what is perfect or imperfect inside of the system. And it's all about, are these patterns that allow us to move into the future, to live a life full of vitality and fulfillment and those sorts of things. It's when that energy is misunderstood that you get into a world of hurt, because those of us who carry this channel and carry this gate, on gate 18 is the gate of work on what has been spoiled, and it's a huge conditioning gate from our parents, and it's oftentimes the opposite sex of the parent. So if you're a daughter, it's your dad, and if you're obviously your son, it's mother. I think people can figure that out. So, but it's also looking at the frequency of looking at that. Yes, that judgment is there, but the judgment is all about what isn't working in the pattern. What within the pattern is keeping all of us from living lives full of vitality and fulfillment. However, because we're never, until you get into this, because we're never taught, that's what it's about. Because on the logical side, it is all about hierarchies, and that we do all have a place in this world. And in the place we were given in the world is perfect for us
Mm-hmm.
when we are living correctly. In this idea of, and then you got to take this all in the context of what else is going on in the chart. So take someone like me who has a completely open ego. So in my pursuit as a generator to, if I'm living incorrectly, to force my productivity to prove I know the exact pattern that's out of whack and everybody else needs to listen to me, I'm going to interpret that energy. Well, why the hell is nobody listening? I'm going to judge the hell out of people because they have no idea what's going on. So it's all taking it in context and knowing that energy is for the collective, and it's to share. Here's my opinion based on what I've observed of all these patterns that aren't working right now. And kind of like going back to Gene Keys of the shadow is, hey, sometimes judgment is necessary. And it may be to get the attention of other people to say, hey, something about this system is not working, because also recognize that that is a splenic gate. So it's all about this innate knowing, and it's the deepest knowing that something isn't working and it's affecting all of us. But it's
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that we don't understand that that energy is more for what's going on outside of us. Those of us who have it can take it, can turn it internally. One, we judge ourselves again for somebody who has an open ego. Yep, 100%. Um, but then when in my experience, when that has become so heavy, the internal judgment, I am automatically turn it outside, because I'm like, oh, I'm carrying way too much of this. Somebody else has got to, somebody else has got to feel
Yeah.
this judgment.
Yeah.
But then recognizing from an awareness standpoint, I'm the one who's creating it. I'm the one who's it's my responsibility to understand what that judgment energy is really all about. And then, as you were saying before, like, oh, I felt a lot of judgment from that person, which can be very much true, but also recognize that if someone's around, I'll just use me as an example, right? If someone's around me who doesn't have the channel of judgment, they can amplify
Mm-hmm.
my channel of judgment. And if I'm not living correctly and I'm in the shadow of that energy, then that person could potentially be way into the shadow of that, because they're
Yeah.
amplifying that 200%. So this comes back to what we're talking about, is this idea that we don't live in a perfect world. And I, as somebody who carries this particular gate and the whole channel, it's on me to understand what that really means and what the use of it really is for. And that through my generator energy, when I'm forcing productivity and I feel like there's got to be a very specific result, or I feel I have to go be productive about fixing this thing in the system, that's me in my own not self, trying to influence what's going on versus responding. Oh, hey, Lauren, do you recognize anything that's not working in the system? Oh, well, I'm so glad you asked. Thanks so much. And then I can provide my opinions of what I feel is not working, but then taking all of that account into everything else going on in my energy to recognize when that's being used correctly.
Yeah. Yes. And again, knowing that we don't live in a perfect world and you will likely be misunderstood at some point, right?
100%. Yes.
100%. That you also have to, yes, like be okay with the fact that you will be misunderstood.
That I will be judged
Yeah.
because
Yes.
with gate 18 comes the fear of judgment.
So what was coming up as you were talking is, I remember something you told me a little while ago, not too long ago, but you were sharing, um, the as you've been going through, like, the full-on certification process, which is very deep. It takes, like, 3.5 years at the
Oh, it does.
fastest, right? Like, that's the
Yep.
fastest you're allowed to go through it for a reason, because it does take time to literally decondition from everything you've learned, in your lifetime so far, right? So, it's very intentional, but that there was a time for you when you were, like, sitting in your response, like, "Oh, this is all I'm supposed to do. I'm only supposed to respond. I have to be perfectly in my responder energy, and that's all that matters, and see what happens." And so I would love for you to tell that story a little bit, because I think that gets into exactly what we're talking about of, like, okay, if you learn your energy mechanics and you're like, "I'm only gonna be perfect in my expression of how I work," what happens with that? How does that go? How did that go?
Let's also say I'm a 3 line, so I
Gotta try,
gotta
experiment.
gotta try and experiment. Um, it had its ups and downs. It had its back and forth. A couple of things, and this is actually a great question because no one's actually ever asked me. So we're all hearing this for the first time.
Great, love it.
Um, it was freeing and stifling all at the same time. Freeing in that learning as a generator that it is not my responsibility and it's actually incorrect for me to initiate. Okay. So when I first heard that, I don't think I'm alone in this of like, damn it, why am I not a manifester? I was like, well, you weren't born to be a manifester. So just get the fuck over it. Right. It took me a while. And then it was like, okay, well, then I have a chance to take a step back and look at the world a little differently. But then stifling at the same time because my head got into it. Well, I can't do that because it's not a response. That's me doing something. I'm asking somebody a question. I'm not responding to their question. And then as I got more and more into this process and heard different perspectives from different instructors, and then finally at this very last uh, class that I'm taking, it was a whole new lens on how each type really works. And the way that it now sits in my mind is like everybody is an autonomous adult, regardless of what uh, type you are. You get to live your life. Like that's first and foremost. You get to live your life, but it's also that it's not 100% because as a generator, it's not about waiting to respond. You're not sitting in the corner waiting to respond. Your sacral is responding all of the time. And it's as generators when we try to force productivity. It's when we get so tied to a result. Like let's say for as a business owner, right? I need to make money and pay my bills and all those things. So like yes, there is this level of I need to get to this specific point in order to fund my life where it becomes as oh, I have to go do X to make sure that it's exactly what I need to do. Like, for instance, anybody out there in my journey, right? I started out in leadership development. And then when I started my coaching business or started my business, and I was like, ugh, this is what I was doing in corporate. I don't do this. Then I noticed a pattern in the Olympics when it was like, oh, athletes need to be supported from a mental point of view. Then I shifted my business and was like, oh, I need to go figure that out. And then I got into that and I was like, yes, nope, this is not it. While it's a very important cause to me, that wasn't my space, right? So it's all about me forcing this productivity of, oh, I got to go do this, or I got to go do that, and I got to do this. And that's where the strategy comes in to interrupt this forced productivity. Wait to respond, because my energy as a generator is here is open and enveloping. It is here to draw opportunities to me. So to interrupt this force, oh, I have to go this, I have to go fix the athletic world. Okay, no, that's not it. I have to go fix, the leadership development. Okay, no, yes, that's an important cause. That's not for me. At one point I was like, go fix the educational system because it's not helping, right? And it's all of these, I've got to go do these things, when really what actually happened, you brought human design to me. And I was like, this is kind of fun.
Mhm.
Let's figure this out. This is cool. I It wasn't something I went seeking. It wasn't something I had even tried to go initiate myself. It wasn't like, oh, I need a really good development tool. Let me go find the one that I really like. That's how it really works, is that it's the strategy of a generator is like, wait for your energy to tell you what it's drawn to.
Yes, and it feels like to me, it feels like a tractor beam.
Yes.
Like, I couldn't not
Yes.
wake up when I was first learning human design, I would wake up at, like, 5:30, 6 a.m. on a Saturday, like, awake and like, "Oh, I wonder about this thing, and I wonder about this thing," and I would go and, like, dig. I was obsessed, but I couldn't get enough, and that was for me, that was the piece of, like, I am so interested. I'm so curious. I'm so like, the yeah, the energy was there without me forcing it at all.
Yes. And through my business, trying to figure out, like, before, and that's actually part of the story too, is like, I then had to okay, but then what's the thing I do with human design? It's got to be this. Oh, well, no, that doesn't really work. No, it's got to be, be readings. Okay, that's great. I love that. But it's like, okay, but there's more to this. Like, okay, so then I was like, well, let me do VIP days and let me like really dig in. I was like, well, no, that's not it either. It's like every time I tried to say it's got to be this thing, is every time I went up against a wall and I quit, because that's what generators do. We get up where we think we need to get this very specific result. And then it's like, oh, yeah, I don't want to do that. That's terrible. That's just awful. And because we get so frustrated. It's just like this absolutely sucks. Like, and then you and I have been connected for what? Almost 5 years now.
Mhm.
At no point did we ever have a conversation of, when we connect, this thing has to happen. It took 5 years for us to just both, not randomly, I don't wanna use that word, but very surprisingly, maybe, we're like, "Oh, this could work. Let's see where this goes." And when we came into partnership, it wasn't, "We're gonna do X, Y, and Z." It was kinda like, "Okay, Hannah brings the what's next. I bring the, well, here we are, and let me dig really deep into what's actually going on underneath the surface. Oh, how do we bring those 2 things together? That that might be an interesting experiment, right? I think for both of us, and please, I would love to hear your perspective. I had no precondition or preconceived notion of what it needed to be or what it should be. It was just kind of like, well, this is kind of interesting. Let's see. Right. And it was a response. We both, and as generators, we both just kind of kept having conversations. And every time we had conversations, we got to respond, but there was no definitive, like, how do I say this? There was no like, we have to go be productive about this thing. It was more of, I'm really good at this. You're really good at this. How do we make that work?
Hmm.
And what does that lead to?
Yeah.
And we're still figuring that out.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And, you know, we've talked about this a little bit, and we'll we'll dive into this on another episode some other time, uh, too, because it's pretty funny that the fact that I'm a pure manifesting generator and Lauren is a pure generator, and there is I'm the manifesting aspect of a manifesting generator isn't the same as a manifester to be here to inform and initiate. Uh, but there is like that spark of like creation
Yes.
that is always present for me. And over the years, I have created a lot of stuff that's really good that's still present in my work today, and true to manifesting generator fashion has been like, here's this thing and here's this thing and here's this thing, and it's kind of like popcorn, um or like a puzzle where you're like, okay, I have all these puzzle pieces that I love and that integrate into my work in different ways, but I made this and I don't know what else to do with it, or I made this and it's not like taking off the way that I had hoped. And so part of that response was you being like seeing all of those puzzle pieces and being like, "Oh, well, just keep talking about that." Or, "Oh, well, this is really good and here's how we get the message out. Oh, here's how this is really good and this is how you use an email list." And right, like all of these other pieces of like my kind of jumping around energy is like, here's all these cool things I have. Look at all my cool stuff. And then you're like, yeah, let's actually put it together in a package that people can then pick up. Like, okay, fine.
I
So you have a lot to respond to, right? That's also like if what I've experienced even over just the last several months is that like, hey, this thing exists. And you're like, oh, well, then this and this and this. And it's done because your energy wanted to pick it up and do it.
Mhm.
Where mine was like, okay, I can do that if I have to like sit down and like get myself in the zone. And that's the thing, right? Like so that would be really heavy for me and that would be hard where like the spark of creation of like getting things started and like fleshing out an idea and having the download and seeing the vision, that for me is like breathing.
Mhm.
And the other part of it is where it would get really heavy. And that's what when you see it, you're like, "Oh, yeah, I see your vision. Here, let's do the step by the ABC of it rather than the HKB of it." That's the stepwise of a generator versus the skipping around of a manifesting generator.
Yeah.
Uh,
On my channel of acceptance, the design of an organizational being doesn't hurt either. Right. I
right.
have the opportunity to actually take something and organize it in a way that others can accept. And, again, it all comes down to truly understanding what being my version of a generator means and what your version of a manifesting generator means. Because as we can all see just by looking at two different people's charts, is that they don't equal the same thing. Like a generator is not a generator is not a generator. We all share this not self of forcing productivity, but the way that we interrupt that is all based on our designs. And kind of going back to your initial question of like, what's my journey been like? I also now recognize after 4 years of like, my generator is actually loves to be behind the scenes. Whereas my entire career leading up to this has been, let me be number one, let me be on top, let me do this, let me be out. And I'm just like, yeah, no, no, thank you. I'm good. I'm good being the wing woman. I'm good being the support system, the cheerleader. Um, and that's why it takes so long, and that's why it's so valuable is to recognize who you are. But at the same time, here's another example. In my when we were working independently, running our own businesses, I hated doing emails. I hated putting the structure behind it. I hated doing all those things
Yeah.
because all of my energy was in the, well, let me create, let me do this, and like, let me do all these other things. And then now that we're together, I'm like, no, 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 give me all those things. I want those things because it allows me the opportunity to use my organizational energy, oh, I can see the systems that we just need to tweak, or here's how we can transform this. Mind you, those are all my channels, right? But that's what's super interesting is like the things you think that are draining you because you're trying to force your productivity or trying to force your initiation if you're a manifestor. You're trying to force your connection because you're a projector. You might actually find the things that you actually that that you experience satisfaction or peace or success are things that actually you hated doing if you're not in the right environment.
Yeah. If you are in the space that so many entrepreneurs are for sure, and well, and leaders of having to do everything. Yeah. When you have to do everything and you are constantly, I mean, this is what it feels like too. Is like I have an undefined root and an undefined solar plexus. And so that undefined root always is feeling the pressure of what everyone else needs to done. And what their, an email comes in, I feel the pressure of I have to respond to that person. A phone call comes up, or someone else needs something, and I feel that pressure of like, oh, I have to answer them right now and get it off me, right? And so that aspect, I think, applies in a lot of ways to business owners and leaders in organizations that like we are taking on everyone else's stuff all the time and not even realizing it because we're like, oh, well, we're supposed to be productive. We're not supposed to, for generators, right? I responded to 400 emails today. So, I did something, but like none of the things that I actually wanted to do got done. And that's what I'm hearing is like, it's like other people's priorities or what we deem as like, this has to be the priority can actually get in the way of what our energy is here to do most effectively and efficiently. And I think your example of like running the email list is such a good example because I remember you talking about that and hiring other people out to do some of that, and then like that didn't really work, and it's like it's good, but it's falling flat. It's not working because your energy is supposed to be there. Like when you do it, it works and people read and people open and people are interested. Um, because that wasn't a thing that you were supposed to give away, but society and having to pay bills was dictating you have to spend time on all of these other things, the creating the containers, the creating the marketing, the executing on that, the doing the sales calls, the doing all of that stuff when actually like we're meant to be helping each other through that versus one person always carrying all of it.
Yes. And and you bring up a great example, whether you're a business owner or a leader, is like we get ingrained. So let's talk about it on the business owner side, right? Dated by all of these processes, all of these programs, all of these, you need to go do X, Y, and Z in order to make, 6-figure months in 6 days, right? It's the ridiculous marketing that goes on, right? Right. And go back to majority of the world has an undefined ego. So we're all here trying to keep up with everybody else and make sure that we can show our worth. Right. I mean, the marketing world preys on those of us who have undefined egos and undefined G's and all the things, right? Um, but when you recognize that, like where you are and where your energy really goes, and you can utilize it in a way that makes the most sense for you, you can block all of that out. And quite honestly, the majority of business owners, I'm going to say something controversial, are here to be in partnership with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so recognizing how to find the correct partner where your skills are complementary, do overlap in some ways. And then so then finding the right kind of balance in harmony between the two of you. And then going from the leader side of like, as a leader, how we approach leadership is all about like, here's where the skills you don't have. So let's just add on these skills, and you've got to be everything to everyone. And the term that I hated all the time was be a player coach, like as a leader. Okay. So I've got to do all of the work and lead, not all of that. That's not fair. I've got to do very tactical operational work similar to my entire team. And then I've also have to lead on top of that. Well, that's asking a crap ton, because take a generator like me, 1-3 profile. And if I have to be productive and improve my worth, where do you think my energy is going to go? It's going to go to the things, the operational
Right.
things. So the let me take care of that. And then, oh, by the way, what was always the feedback that I got as a leader? You're never around. We can never get a hold of you. Well, yeah, I know, because I got to play everything. So I'm going to default to this because it brings me, I'll say it, brought me a lot more satisfaction to get something done
Yeah.
versus the alternative at the time. Now, I do love to support people. I love to sit and walk through things. Obviously, I became a certified professional coach. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy that part of the process too. But that's why I took myself out, because I couldn't do all of it. And I was like, hey, I'm really good at getting shit done. I've honed that skill. Can I try the other skill? Can I actually do well on that side? And again, it was a response of I kept getting this feedback that I was so self-absorbed and I was so in my own process. I was like, okay, well, then let me get out of that and see how I can thrive in this other area, or at least attempt to thrive in this other area. And then now it's kind of like we work together. We bring those two things together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We both being both being generators is interesting. And again, yeah, there's a lot to dig into there, but bringing very different pieces of that is part of what's so magical. And what we were talking about before we started recording was that, again, in this world where most people are not aware, I mean, like the figures that they throw around in, some of the self growth spaces and things like that, are that like less than 10% of people are aware of themselves, are actively doing work to become also more aware. And
Okay.
I've seen that actually. I want to say it was, I'll have to look it up. It was a study done by Harvard, one of the Ivy Leagues universities, around that as well, from a psychological, the psychology department standpoint. They also were looking at these, how aware are people of themselves? And again, it was like 10% or less. So, right. So, I mean, it's coming from a couple of different angles, that this information is like being shared. And so to think, again, from a human design lens, from a business lens, from if you are starting to know yourself better and understanding that this kind of work is what actually allows you to be fully yourself, do the things that you're meant to do and are good at and feel good to do, That's like literally 10% or less of people. So 90%, 90% of people that you come across are not aware. And the way I translate this into this work is like, they're not aware of how they are affecting others. They're not aware of how their actions are actually affecting other people. They're not aware of how they are projecting. That's another huge one, how they are projecting on other people. So we can circle back to judgment. Someone who is, in the 90% of unaware, if they see you making an observation and a correction and they are feeling judged within themselves, right? The projection is that you are the horrible judgy bitch. Right? Like, how dare that person be judgy of me? And even if you're like, oh, no, 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 I just was noticing a thing and that was it.
Yep.
Right. But the way that being unaware of what your own energy is bringing into the conversation just naturally, or what your emotions are doing to affect the people around you, there's the projection of it usually means that it's everyone else's fault.
Yes. Well, and also think of it this way, being unaware and how you're affecting yourself and then that ripple effect of how it then, because again, take either one of us for example, is like when I was so into my not self-generator state, it was all about forcing productivity. I got to get it done, got to get it done, got to get it done, da, 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 da. And the productivity was also about, I've got to prove my worth. I've got to do this, do that. And then like the effect that was having on me, because it was like, oh, okay, I see what I was doing to myself now. And then I see, because I was doing it to myself, how that was affecting not just my peers, but the people who reported to me, and then being able to make those adjustments because you now understand, oh, but also, I have a way of going about this differently. But then also in the real world, like taking it back to where we started, is this idea of, yes, in an organization or running a business, there are expectations. You are working towards very specific metrics, or depending on what your role is, like very KPIs or revenue goals or client goals. Those exist, but it's how you orient yourself in the context of those things to stay as true to yourself as you possibly can, knowing that it's not going to be 100%, knowing that at some point, if you're a generator, you're going to be forcing a low productivity. And the great thing about being in the shadow or being in the not self and not getting your strategy and authority right every single time is, there's a lesson to be learned in there. There's a lesson to reflect on moving forward and to say, hey, I know this is when I'm going to get myself, quote unquote, into trouble. How do I approach it differently?
Yeah. Yes. What was coming up for me as you were saying that was that, thinking about projectors also, right? Like, for it's so common for people when they find out they are a projector and then they hear that their strategy is to wait for the invitation. That does not go over well a lot of times. Like, it's even more rough than for a generator who's like, you're supposed to respond to life. It's like, no, you're supposed to wait for someone to literally invite you into the conversation. And that, uh, so for a projector, that if you are a projector of any sort, self-projected, splenic, emotional, whatever, right? Like, you are here, mental, say that one. Wait for the invitation, and then your guidance will be received. If you force your guidance, or you see something that's like, oh my God, this will work so much better if we do it this way. If you go and force that onto someone else, they will most likely either flat out reject it and be like, I didn't ask for that, or be like, yeah, okay, sure, great. And then, right, like, not just completely put it away because they didn't ask for it. But so as projectors, when you learn that about yourself, it's how do you position, how do you make the connection, like you said before? How do you make the connection with someone else? How do you share that you have an idea that could be helpful, but leave it up to the other person to ask for it, to come to you and be like, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, that really isn't working. I remember you said you were thinking about something else that it could work better. Can you like what do you think?" There's your invitation. That's it, right? To share. The reason I'm saying this is that as you go through your process, as you as a projector go through and you blurt things out, or you insert yourself where you haven't been invited yet, and you experience that, and you experience how it doesn't work, and you experience, oh, this is how it works when it is flowing. Well, what's hilarious is that generators and manifestors uh, also can have projected channels.
Yeah. The majority of us do.
Right. And so, like, if you have a channel that is projected, even as a generator, if you have a projected channel, like the channel of surrender is a projected channel,
Hmm.
right? Is that correct?
Hmm.
That one, that the channel of surrender is also called the channel of the entrepreneur. It is this beautiful channel of the gate of coming to meet goes over to what's the 26 again?
Oh God. Uh,
Putting this both on the spot.
I know. Here, hold on. I got my book right here. So let's just
The taming
tune
power of the
in.
great
Gate of the egoist.
gate of the egoist. So we've got I know how to bring people together, the gate of coming to meet, and then the gate of the egoist that knows how to manipulate the information that the tribe needs, so that the tribe will say like, "Oh yeah, that's correct. Like that's we
Mm.
need that."
Yeah, to introduce something new to keep the tribe moving forward.
Exactly. It's a beautiful necessary channel. And if I carry this channel, if I bulldoze it or bulldoze with that channel, it does not go well. It doesn't work. And it would say work, I mean literally from a mechanical standpoint. It's like it's fully shadow energy if I'm in there bulldozing. Instead, it needs to be invited. People, when people come to me and say, "Oh, I heard you on this thing," or, "Oh, you were, dropped into this mastermind and taught, and now like I need to know more. How can you help me?" That's the invitation. And then I'm free to share, and it lands and it's received well. And so even though I'm a generator, I'm a manifesting generator, learning about how to wait for the invitation, what that means coming from projectors is also part of my design. And so there are several really prominent channels that if you ignore the fact that it needs to be invited, again, whatever you have to share is like slap down and not
Yeah.
received.
Yeah. Excellent point. And two things that came up as a part of that is, it always does come back to type. So when you think about a generator and um, a projector, like waiting to respond and waiting for the invitation, obviously nuanced, but they're not completely dissimilar, right? So the idea of for you, it's has there been an opportunity to respond? Excuse me. And also the idea of recognition, right? It's not always just an invitation. It's like that can be considered an invitation of like, Hannah, you were really good at explaining or showing, what, God, I'm going to cough, what can be useful for the tribe in order to carry it forward. I need some water, sorry. So there's that. So it's always come back to type. But also think about a manifester who has the channel of surrender. You can't tell a manifester, excuse me, wait for the invitation. A manifester is going to be like, no, bro, not going to happen. But again, always coming back to type for a manifester, they're going to force the initiation. They're going to force the impact they think that needs to happen in order for people for the tribe to do something new in order, or to try something new. So it's all about recognizing where your type comes from and how that moves forward and how how the energy moves through those channels through your type. And so manifestors can get very angry when they, or have the potential to get very angry when they push something forward. Like, no, the tribe needs to do this. They need to try something new in order to benefit their survival. And that's when the tribe is like, no, thank you. We good. So for a manifestor, it can be something like, hey, this could work. Here's what I see could work, could help move the tribe forward. We're just using the channel. So, okay. No agenda, no expectation. The tribe is going to move it forward, but they informed the people around them of, hey, I see this product might actually work. That's the initiation. It's the initiation for everybody else on the receiving end of that information to pick up the torch. The generators just say, oh, hell yeah, I'll build that. 100% I'll build that. And the projectors, as you were talking about before, projectors, as the generators are moving through their energy and building all these things, be like, okay, let's just take a step back and let's figure out how to use this energy differently. And for projectors, one of the greatest ways to pull in invitations, recognize other people for what they do really well. Couple of different things. You're going to feed their ego, whether they're defined there or not, right? Tap
Feels
in a
great.
little bit. Yeah, tap in a little bit to their not self if they're an undefined ego. But also, they recognize that you can see things inside of them that they may not be able to. And so the more that you just live your life, right? And you recognize people for what they're really good at doing, you'll be surprised how many people will be like, oh, thank you for noticing. I really appreciate that. Is there anything else that you see? Boom, an invitation.
Right. Yeah. And it's coming from authenticity, coming from
Without
authentic.
forcing the guidance and the connection.
Yes. Yes. So with, again, with all of this information, knowing that 90% of people have no idea how their energy is affecting anything around them,
Themselves included.
themselves, that comes into, what you might be familiar with, like, as victim consciousness, victimhood, like everything is happening to me all the time. A lot of people are in that. And that's um not to disparage that population either, like the majority of people who are in that, but to encourage you, because if you're listening to this, it's because you are interested in becoming more aware, or you are aware and you've been working on it, right? Like you wouldn't be listening to this otherwise, right? Like why would you? I wouldn't. Um, but that, knowing, having compassion for when you notice it out there that someone is, in a victim state, everything is happening to them, that you can, if you have done this work, if you have become more aware of yourself and how you affect others, you can change your side of the conversation, which gives that other person that is still in that victim mentality, is still in that everything's happening to me mentality, gives them the opportunity to see things a little differently, to experience someone's energy who is using their energy correctly. You actually bring that. You bring that imprint of what does it look like to even have a little bit healthier energy? Like you choose the gift sometimes is different from you're in the shadow all the time. That's a huge shift in consciousness already. So you bring that experience to some other people of this is what it feels like to have at least some shift in consciousness. And you still get the choice to see, like, how do I wanna say this? You get to be in your highest expression as much as possible, understanding that other people are gonna be the way they're gonna be, but you feel you can feel settled within yourself, right? Knowing that part of the work is other people's projections are their material. Other people's emotions are their material to work on. And the other side of this is that once you start to become aware of yourself and aware of your energy and how it moves through the world, aware of your not self, you can also choose to bring this to your family and understand your family better. You can choose to bring this to your team and understand your team better. You can choose to bring this into conscious partnership and partner with people in business consciously.
Mhm.
It's the difference in how partnership has worked for me, even if it's a collaboration, if it's, whatever that is. Since becoming aware of my human design, so it's been a good 5 years at this point for me as well, right? Like studying, practicing, experimenting, getting it wrong, trying again. The collaborations that I have gone into, especially over the last like three years, I've I have not had a bad experience. And also because I'm coming into collaboration with other people who are, again, doing this work, becoming aware of themselves and how their energy affects the people around them. And it leads to more authentic work together. It leads to better results for the people that you're supporting together. It leads to it leads to better business results in general, I believe, but also it leads to um, more conscious like dissolution as well, right? So like different collaborations that I've done before that like this worked for now, it doesn't work anymore, and we're still good friends. We still love each other. There is no hard feeling. There is no like, oh, it should have gone a different way. It's like the awareness of being in partnership with people who are aware of themselves and their energy is 1000% different.
Yeah. You bring up a great point is that oftentimes, two great points actually. Oftentimes when you start this work and you are working to be more self-aware, it can feel lonely. And by that I mean, because you're working through your own stuff, you're figuring out how you affect other people, how other people are affecting you, what you're putting out into the world, all the things. And so that's why it's so beneficial that, the business owners and the leaders who, choose to work with us is that we provide the opportunity to go outside of themselves. We provide the opportunity to look at their entire business, everybody in it, vendors, the partners, whatever the case, employees, whatever. And the same with organizations, that it's more than just the leader. We provide the opportunity to see the entire team or the peer group or whatever the case may be, so that there is this level of growth and transformation and transcendence that happens together versus somebody just sitting on an island and being like, what the hell? And saying that as you work through your own, building your own self awareness and becoming um, more in line with your energy and who you are, you actually, and building off of what you said, you actually stop taking things personally. Things just kind of like, oh, all right, that didn't go as planned. All right. You don't get as derailed. Now, I'm not going to say it in my own experiment. Like there have been some pretty significant things that have thrown me off my awareness game. But again, I honestly believe that as deep as some of those experiences that have happened maybe over the last 18 months, as deep as they have been, I handled them a lot differently because of all the awareness work that I've done. And rather than fall into, well, this is happening to me, I could take a bit more objective and say, hey, life's throwing me a lot of shit right now. I have the opportunity. I may have my moments, I may have my days, but generally speaking, I can see the objectivity in this and to know that I may be in a really bad day right now, and that bad day may last for 2 weeks, and I don't really like that. but I can accept that being the case versus spiraling out of emotional control or and get very deep in my own head that nothing is ever going to work out and this I'm the only person this has ever happened to and all the things because I am more aware.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. That emotional depth that the ability to see, feel the emotions in the space that you're feeling, that you're noticing for what they are, or whatever conditioning it is, right?
Yes.
If it's lack of direction, like feeling, not feeling self-love, not feeling valuable, not knowing what to say, not being certain, whatever, whichever center we're talking about that's being heavily conditioned, we're all going to feel the initial response of, that conditioning. It's I would say I don't know if anyone ever gets out of that.
No.
Right.
You don't you'll always be conditioned.
Right. So like my undefined solar plexus, like that initial feeling of wanting to stay out, like I don't want that conflict. That's always, conflict avoidance is always going to be like a little thing that's there or a big thing. Um, right. Well, we've talked about it even recently, like, oh shit, there it is again. I didn't even realize I was doing it, but there it is. But again, it's being able to come back into that awareness of like, okay, okay, there is something that I need to say. There is something that I need to do that is probably going to upset someone else, and that I'm not speaking my truth in order to keep someone else from feeling upset. That is my conflict avoidance coming up. That's pointing me towards something that I need to take care of,
Mhm.
but not in, again, like you're saying, not in an unconscious way, not in a blaming way, not in a everything woe is me way.
Yeah.
Just an, oh, look at that.
Yeah. Look
Um,
at that.
look at that. So we wanted to I think we're gonna end it there as this place of like, again, the world is gonna be the world.
Mhm.
It's not perfect. You're not gonna agree with everyone on every point. Uh, we're also not necessarily, even if you were to look at your business from the lens of human design, and there are beautiful systems that can tell you, hey, here's the seats you need filled, here are the different energies that are going to work for that. Good luck. Good luck finding like the perfect, we'll call it a penta. Good luck finding the perfect team from a human design standpoint. You're always going to be compromised in some way by the people around you. And it's all about how you become more and more aware, again, of the energies that you're bringing yourself, what other people are bringing, and how do we work together, um, and give each other grace.
Mhm. It's a beautiful thing about human design gene keys. The more you know about yourself, the more you can allow other people to be themselves and not get so influenced and affected by it.
Yeah, beautiful. Anything else? Did I
No,
miss it?
no,
No.
you are amazing. You hit all the good points.
Good. We did it. So, if that truly, if that sounds also like the support that you're like, hey, hold on, wait, how do we do that? Like, that's literally what we do. That's the leadership, that's the systems, that's the money, the conversation, right? All of that, bringing all of these topics into focus together. How do they inform and affect each other is the work.
Mhm.
And we can do it in a way that feels, this is the big piece, is the way that it feels safe to look at it. It doesn't feel scary. It doesn't feel um
Mm-mm. No,
we don't
not in
need
our
that.
world. No,
No.
because Hannah and I have processed all of it as those who are emotionally undefined. No, it doesn't matter how you got here. It doesn't matter why you got here. I think that's what you and I really bring to the table. It's that the past is the past is the past. It's like, it provided you the opportunity to get here. And all we're doing and like when we look at our process of discovery, alignment, expansion, we use discovery just to build a foundation to say, okay, where are the patterns? We have no judgment for those patterns. And we create spaces. It's like, it's okay. Right. I mean, where you are now, you're a different person than you were even a half an hour ago because something has happened, or you've just lived, and now just working through your own mind, you're like, oh, I see something differently. You kind of what we talked about in the last episode. You can only learn something having gone through it. You can't see the forest through the trees while you're in it. And we provide the opportunity to sit in a safe space of like, okay, we're just going to dig in. We're going to dig in because we just need to know for no other reason, just to lay the foundation. And then where your expertise comes in, okay, what do we do with it now? That's it. It's so simple.
It is.
It's
It
not
is.
easy, but it's simple.
I love that. And that's the part that's always important, right? It's simple. It's simple. And it's not easy. It still takes help through the process for most people. But it's possible. It's not crazy. So, okay, we're going to leave it there. We're going to talk more. We're still in March. March is a long month. We have a
It
lot of
is a
happening in
long month.
It's
Hey,
right?
March is a good month. Wink, wink.
Right, that's true, that's true. Someone has a birthday coming up soon. Right? Happy almost birthday. So we will continue to talk about leadership, business, all of those things, especially in March, and how you are being in your business, how that continues to affect the people around you and the business that you create, and the impact you have in this world. And if you have any questions, or if you're listening, I would still love to do more like live
Oh, yes.
reading coaching, more on like the coaching side, I think, or guidance, or what problems are you facing right now? Uh, if you want to, yeah, if you want to help with that, like this is an invitation. This is a full invitation. Send us an email. Tell us what's going on. Maybe we'll do an episode
Yeah. An
with you.
email, Lauren at expansiveceo.com.
It's right there.
Goes directly to me.
All links are in the show notes. If you, again, have any questions, thoughts, want to find out more, you can go to expansiveceo.com or email us and we'll hear from you then. So thanks for listening, everybody. We will catch you next time.
Bye, friends.